What's up YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be continuing the story time of why I quit my job. This is part 2. This is where all the juicy shit comes to play, so I hope that you watched every time. If you have not already, go to part 1 and go watch that, otherwise you will not understand what I'm talking about or where I'm starting from in part 2 right now. So just to give you a mini refresher on where we left off, the undiagnosed, could be maybe autistic child went home with some mosquito bites, and I guess whenever the swelling went down, they turned into it looked like bruises pretty much, but it didn't at the same time. It looked weird. But the mother of said child messaged me and pretty much accused me of harming her child. So I defended myself by saying I would never do such a thing because I love my kids like they're my own. And then I guess my boss had read my messages because the woman had called my boss and said that she did not like the way that I rebutted the conversation. So that's where we left off. Let's continue. After he pretty much told me if I ever have an issue with this woman again to go to him instead of, defending myself, I told him that I handled the situation to the best of my abilities, and looking back on it like present time right now, I feel like I really did, because I could have cussed her out, I could have been mean as fuck, but I didn't. I tried to just defuse the situation, but she kept on trying to poke me, which he did recognize in the conversation. And he said, I did notice that she kept trying to get you to come back at her. I don't know what that's about, but I'm glad that you didn't respond to that. And I'm like, well, yeah, I know what she's trying to do. She's trying to get me caught up, trying to get me to lose my job, and I'm not trying to lose my bag, you know what I mean? So he also had told me that he heard the conversation I had with the kid's father that previous Friday before the weekend had happened, when I pretty much told the father that that kid was hitting the other kids all day long. And usually I don't report that, but because it was an all day long situation and I didn't want to put the kid in timeout. We're not allowed to call it that, by the way. We're supposed to call it taking a moment. I didn't want to put him in that situation because it wouldn't have helped. He didn't really understand the concept of that, and it just would have made him more mad. So I didn't even try to do that. But Dad didn't take it bad. He was like, oh yeah, he does that a lot at home too. I was like, oh okay, well I just wanted to know, I wanted to make sure that you were aware. And that was the end of that conversation. But pretty much my boss was like, yeah, don't tell them that. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, don't tell them whenever their kid is this particular parent, don't tell them that their kid is hitting other kids. And that didn't sit right with me, because I'm thinking to myself, I'm not helping the child in any way, shape, or form if I hide something like that, because that child could grow up to be a little aggressive. Maybe they think that behavior is okay. That behavior is not okay. I don't like to lie in general, especially to my parents, because I have to build that trust with them. And if they don't trust me, then that just causes more problems. So I was like, so what are you trying to say? And he pretty much said,
I don't want to call it lying, but just you need to kind of not tell them the truth, do white lies.
And at first I was really against that, but then I started to quickly realize with this particular parent, I had no other choice. Because even if it was a positive thing that I would tell them, oh yeah, he really likes music, when we sing songs he dance, the mom would take that and fucking twist it somehow to where she thinks I'm trying to say her son can't do anything else, you know what I mean? It was just after that conversation, I remember the next day I was super nervous because I knew that she would come and drop off her kid, and I didn't know what type of interaction we were going to have, considering that the day before she accused me of hurting her kid. And I didn't get in trouble, but I kind of got in trouble for her accusations, you know what I mean? I got called out for it. It was around 8:50, I want to say. That's when I had 2 kids. Usually I have a lot more by that time, but that day I only had 2 kids. And usually on a normal day I have an aide in my classroom to either help me out with something or let me go to the bathroom, yada yada yada. But this particular day I did not have an aide in my classroom, which I got the rope and I have the kids, and I'm on my way through my front door to go outside. Right when I turn around to head out the door with the kids, I see Timmy Turner and his mother. So I don't say anything at first. I make eye contact with her because I want to see how she's going to play her first move. She didn't even say anything to me. She dropped Timmy Turner off at the classroom next door to me, and then that teacher gave Timmy Turner to me. She didn't even want to have contact with me. And that's when I kind of was just oh, okay. She must know what she did was beyond wrong, and the accusations she made were beyond out of the world, because she couldn't even look me in my fucking face. She couldn't face me like a woman, and she couldn't even come in my classroom and drop off her kids. She had to pass them off to someone else for someone else to give them to me. So I was like, all right, well, there's that. I thought that she was going to do that like every day. But the next day, this is where it gets real fucked up to me. So usually around 8:50 in the morning, like I said, I get a lot of my kids, right? This particular day, I only had like 2 kids in my classroom, which is very, very, very rare. I was sitting on top of the table. The tables are really low, like it's for 2-year-olds. Sitting on top of the table, and I was doing arts and crafts with the only 2 kids that I had at the time. And then I hear my door open and I see Timmy Turner and his mother. We made eye contact again, and I wanted to see how she was gonna, you know, approach the situation. Maybe see if she was gonna apologize, because I was willing to hear her out. I was willing to make the situation right, like if she wanted to make the situation right. As soon as he comes into my classroom, he starts flipping shit. Now, if you don't know, kids can feed off of parents' energy. So if mama doesn't like teacher, kid's not gonna like teacher. And he wasn't doing that day 1 and 2. So it kind of pissed me off, because I'm like, really? Like, great, now I have to deal with this screaming, crying kid all day fucking long just because you want to have animosity towards me. I remember she was dealing with him crying and like not wanting to come in, and usually I allow the parents to like get their children calm, or I try to give them a chance to make them calm before I step in and, you know, oh, come here, all that shit. But I noticed that Timmy was not being calm for her at all. Like, he was flipping shit. And she looked at me. Eventually she calmed him down for like a split second, and she said, "Good morning." Keep in mind, I'm in mid conversation with my oh, I can't say his name. I'm in mid conversation with one of my students, okay? And I'm telling him like, oh, what color is this? What shape is this? What does it feel like? Like, we're doing sensory, you know what I mean? Like, I'm actually engaging with my children. I'm not just sitting there staring into space. And she says good morning to me as I'm talking to the child. So I'm not gonna say like stop what I'm talking about with the child just to say good morning. I usually finish my sentence and then I say good morning, because I don't want them to lose their concentration. Because I didn't respond to her automatically, she looked at me dead in my face and she said, "You can acknowledge me when I'm talking to you." I don't really know who she thought I was, and I'm not trying to be funny. I don't know who she thought I was, but I'm not fucking Sally Sue across the hall. Anyone who, you know, has an interaction with me knows I'm very sweet until you fucking push me the wrong way. At this point, you could tell she was doing this shit on purpose. Like, she was trying to belittle me and talk to me a certain way. And like I said, this woman is white. This is a white woman talking to me as though I am her subordinate. Like, I am beneath her, and I'm not. What I do with the children as far as a teacher is always going to be separate from who I am as a person. Yes, I can be motherly, I can be nice, I can be sweet, but at the end of the day, I don't play when it comes to disrespect, because I respect you, you respect me. Like, treat others the way you want to be treated. Like, it's not that hard. And I wasn't doing anything to offend her. Only thing I did was not respond to her as quick as she wanted me to respond to her. So the fact that she even said something like that pissed me off, and I felt the rage in me build up. It took everything out of me not to cuss this woman out. All I said was, "We're good." And I did the period. I did this hand motion too, so she'd know, like, stop talking to me. And then right after I said what I had to say, Timmy Turner started to flip shit again. And then at this point, I wanted her out of my fucking classroom, because I felt like she was gonna keep trying to say shit to me. So I picked him up very gently. I picked up this kid like I was holding him lengths away from me, because I didn't want to hear shit about, oh, you grabbed him too rough, oh my god, he's hurting, look at him, he's crying. Instead, all she said was thank you. And I was like, thank God we have masks on, because you would have saw my full face, but all she saw was this. And then I like walked away from the door and I put him down in the chair, and she left my classroom. I was so heated that I didn't waste any time. So I didn't want her to go to my boss and make up this elaborate story about me being the one that had the attitude the whole time. So I immediately texted my boss and I said, hey, when you get a chance, I want to come to your office and I want to talk to you about something. He responded within like around 10-20 minutes later, and he sent an 8 to my classroom. So I went directly to his office. I thought maybe she'd call him first, or maybe she'd be in his office like reporting me or some shit, but she wasn't in there, so I guess she went straight home for once in her fucking life. But anyways, I go to his office, I close his door, and he's like, well, what's the issue? Like, are you okay? And I tell him what happened less than 30 minutes ago, the whole situation that I just described to you. I tell him in detail what happened. And I ended the conversation with, at this point, she's trying to provoke me, and I do not feel comfortable watching her son. So if we need to give him to someone else for his last week here, then that's what we need to do, because this woman is trying to disrespect me, and she's acting like she's my boss, and she's not my boss. It's one thing if I'm disrespecting you, right? I get fired, right? But if a parent is disrespecting the teacher, how come there's no protection for a teacher? Like, That's baffling to me. And it's not like we'd be losing money. No, this is, like I said, this is a very well-known facility for childcare. So it's not like we'd be losing anything from getting her either out of the facility completely or just moving her to a different class. So he didn't like what I had said pretty much. He pretty much said, you only have a couple more days of him being left in your class. Like, I know it's difficult and I'm sorry she did that to you, but just try to tough it out. And I'm like, this is so unfair because this lady, she could have gotten me fired. She could have gotten me arrested. She could have made up anything. And because she is white, they probably would have believed her. And yes, there's cameras in my room, but no one seemed like they wanted to pull the cameras to defend me. You know what I mean? No one seemed like they wanted to expose this lady and like whatever the fuck she was doing the whole time. Sometimes there are those Karens that try to get people fired for whatever fucking reason, and that was the situation, and nobody wanted to stick up for me. And I tried to stick up for myself because no one's gonna do it, but I get in trouble for sticking up for myself. In that moment, I was like, I'm going to quit. Like, I've envisioned myself walking out because I've been in so many dirty situations with my past jobs, which I'll do story times on those another time. Like, that's I've been in so many fucked up situations that I'm used to almost having to choose that decision. At the time, I didn't even have anything lined up, and I just moved into my own apartment. I have my own like separate bills now. It's way too risky to jump jobs and in the hopes that I'd find something. So I was like really trying to convince myself not to leave right then and there, because I don't support people who will sit there and allow people to feel belittled or just like stupid, you know what I mean? And I didn't feel stupid, it's just she made me feel that way because she would get away with it. But the minute I say, I don't like the way you're treating me, I'm in trouble. Like, I don't know. It really, surprisingly, I mustered up enough strength not to leave. Months had went by, okay? And within these months, I decided that I'm going to start looking for a job. I started looking for a job right after that incident happened, mainly because for me, job searches are a little harder. Like I said, I mainly have childcare on my resume, so it's very difficult to get corporations interested in taking a chance on me. But before I could even find anything, I remember the head boss at this facility pretty much said, we're gonna give you all raises. Teachers don't get paid shit, by the way. They told us that we're all gonna call you in the office and sorry, my stomach just growled. He said he was gonna call us all individually into his main office, and we would get a quote on how much, you know, they're offering us individually, and we'd sign off if we approved. Excuse me. The day came for me to sign, and I only got a measly $2 bump up, so $14 an hour. At first I was like, okay, well, it's not too bad. Like, it's better than nothing. I thought it was gonna be like a 50-cent raise, so it wasn't too bad. But I already made it up in my mind that I need to go, because at this point, it was just becoming way too stressful. Like, my kids, I had one kid, she would scream and holler all day long. And I know that's normal at a daycare, but she would purposely make a game out of it. Like, she'd be fine as soon as she gets dropped off. But then as soon as I transfer her to my class, it'd be all day long screaming and shouting and crying. So it just wasn't good for my mental health. And I had a whole bunch of other kids that had other needs too that I couldn't really help them with. Which I don't understand that in childcare. Why do we place children with needs that are far beyond what we can provide for them in classes with teachers who are not qualified to help those children? Eventually down the line, I think after that, it was maybe 2 weeks later, it happened pretty fast. I ended up getting referred to a job from a close friend. Shout out to Maddie if you're watching this, love you boo. But it's a job for Indeed, and this is going to open the door to so many things. I'm going to manifest that energy because they trusted Maddie's, you know, referral, because Maddie's an awesome worker, and then they took a chance on me. So if it was not for that, I don't think I would have even gotten this job. I'm very grateful because now I can leave the whole childcare shit in my past. That is a chapter I am done with. I've been done with for a very long time, but I was forced to stay with for the sake of bills. After I did the interview, they immediately wanted me, and we went through the whole process. Behind my job's back, I like took a sick day, and I went and I signed the papers, and I was like, fuck it, like, it's my choice at this point if I want to put in my 2 weeks or if I want to quit. At first, I was good about it. I said, I'm gonna put in my 2 weeks because I need that little money, right? So I went to work and I told them, I said, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. I think it's time that I move on and venture into something that is more healthy and productive for me. Now, usually when you tell your manager this, they'll at least ask you, oh, why? Like, is there anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to complain about? She didn't say anything. She was just like, oh, okay, let me write that down. And I was like, wow. Like, even if there was a slight chance that I wanted to stay, she didn't even fight for it. So I was like, yeah, I gotta go. I did that in the morning, right? Like, I went directly to her office and I told her that. As soon as I got into my classroom, they didn't even tell me I was gonna have new kids. That's one thing I can't stand. It's already unorganized there, but they would never tell you when you would get new kids. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that does change the whole dynamic of everything. Like, you should tell people that, right? So I got in, I had new kids. As soon as I walked in, screaming, hollering, panic, all the kids were throwing the biggest, fattest tantrum. And in that moment, I felt like in my spirit, I was like, I'm done. I am done. So I finished that whole day. I didn't leave, midday. I finished the shift. And I decided I'm never coming back. So the next day, I usually get in around like 8. It was like 9. I was laying in my bed, still had my bonnet on. I was relaxing. And then they started to call me. They started to text me. And at first, I wasn't going to tell them anything. But I didn't want them showing up to my residence, because, sometimes they'll do that if they feel like you're in danger and shit. So I ended up texting one of them and I said, yeah, I'm not gonna come back. I will not be returning. So I found the receipts, so I'm gonna read it because I remember I screenshot it. So one of the people, which I'm gonna block out their name, they said, hey Heaven, just checking in. You were scheduled for 8 and we just need to know if you're okay or if you aren't coming into work so we can plan for your babies. I said, I will not be returning. So then she replied back hours later and said, I'm sorry to hear that. If you would like to discuss why, I'm open to listening to help sort out any issues that may have happened. But if not, I do wish you the best. And I decided to leave her unread because there was really nothing more for me to say. And keep in mind, this was like the other lady. This wasn't even my manager. My manager didn't even ask me if there's anything that I wanted to discuss or anything like that. So I kind of felt bad for like a second. I can't tell you how many times they would stick me with a whole bunch of children that weren't mine and I would just have to fucking suck it up and deal with it. Or if someone would not show up for a shift, I'd have to take all their kids and suck it up and deal with it. And I would never ever complain. So at this point, I did not feel bad. I was like, you know what? They're just gonna have to fucking deal with it and not complain. I don't feel bad, dude. Yep. That is why I had to say adios to childcare, because they want us to lie to you. They don't want us to tell the complete truth. And when we do, we have to do something called a compliment sandwich, which is good news, bad news, and then good news again, just to avoid you thinking that we're calling your child out. And I can tell you right now that shit didn't work. I used to try it and they would only hear the bad shit. So it didn't make much of a difference. Yeah, y'all, honestly, there's so many more reasons to why I decided to quit that job, but that's just a few selected stories I decided to put into this long ass video. I hope no one was offended by what I said. At the end of the day, I'm only speaking about my experiences. I'm sure everyone would have handled that situation a little differently. A lot of my friends were saying that they would have went off, and I should have went off, but I tried to do it the right way. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of the decisions I made, and I'm proud that I did not give up even when I should have. So yay to me. Thank you so much for staying tuned for part 2. And I hope that you thoroughly enjoyed these videos. Please give it a big thumbs up. It helps me out a lot to know what type of content you like. I think I'm gonna post a lot more storytime videos because I have a lot. If you're still this far, you still haven't clicked the subscribe button, you're petty. You're petty bones. Bye. I love you guys.